I'm Dave Erickson. I'm the founder of freeconferencecall.com. I founded Free Conference Call in 2001. How many of you have heard of Free Conference Call? How many of you are thinking about raising money right now? Okay. The reason why I think I'm approved, if you will, to talk on this topic is because I didn't raise any money. I didn't take any institutional funds at Free Conference Call. It is a complete bootstrap, and still today we have zero debt, and we have not taken any institutional money. To me, not raising money equates to a lifestyle. And that's really, really valuable, and I had no way to figure that out when I started. I wished I could have raised some money. I saw money as kind of acceptance, approval, inclusion, a destination, arrival, that somehow somebody was saying, hey, you know what, that business model is a good idea, or you're an okay guy and people like you, or whatever it was that would come from getting that money. But unfortunately, at the time, I thought I wasn't able to get it, but I didn't need it. So who am I? I am a high school graduate. I graduated with a strong C average. I was right in the middle of the class, maybe the lower middle. Yep. I'm a tinkerer, so I like doing things, right? I like adding things to things. I like taking things out of things, seeing if they still work. Nothing really fabulous, just kind of tinkering. I love invention. I love really intelligent people. I love telecom. I love voice. When I figured out how voice was packetized, it was just a great day. I love voice. And I love people's startups, and I love people's ideas. I love to see startups that didn't even make it that just had a really cool idea. I got a whole bunch of them. There's nothing that I did or had that when I came to the business world that was like amazing or to write home about. I was just a guy that was showing up. Free Conference Call, I was just in Washington, D.C., and I was lobbying for our company. And I did 20 meetings in 2 days, and I met congressmen, senators, and people at the FCC. They all knew about it. Free Conference Call has been used by 1% of humanity, which that's just a lot of people, right? Half of humanity doesn't even have a phone, okay? But I have done zero in the form of branding other than our little website and doing that. We have done no TV commercials, no shopping carts, no doilies at the coffee shops, right? None of that stuff. We didn't have any money to do branding. We have zero salesmen. So we didn't have any salesmen out there. And we were able to attain amazing heights. And we're 150 people running a company in 70 different countries. The turtle conundrum. This is like one of my favorite things right here. 32% of the turtles don't make it to the ocean. No. 32% make it to the ocean. 68 don't. And my question is if the turtle raised money, would he have any better chances? Because I don't know, considering what happened with Free Conference Call and the size that it scaled to, that if we would have raised money, we would have been able to do much better. You can only penetrate a market so far. But the turtles go into the ocean, they establish a beachhead, and they make a go at it. And what happens is change. And so the idea that we're going to like set some amazing plan, some target, when you're doing your startup, this is exactly how I'm going to do it, 52 pages of it, and that we're going to nail it, that we're going to execute it, I think is just a bunch of baloney. And when I go out and raise money, whether I raise it with my parents or the guy down the street or some people from my church or an institutional place, I got to sell that plan. I got to say, hey, this is exactly how I'm going to do this. And when I want to zig and the plan says zag, what do? Do I go back to the people that I got the money from and say, okay, hey, look, you know that stuff I sold you guys? It's all changed. We're going to go a different route. I can. People do it. Sometimes they're successful at it. But how agile are you in your startup? Because things are going to happen. I can't even tell you how many things happened in free conference call that I didn't expect, right? From the first successful year of taxes on down, just, left and right. What made us a great company was agility, the size of the company, the lack of commitment. I did a talk once and it was on, business plans, and the most difficult thing with a business plan is following it, right? That's what I don't like about them. I want to be able to change up. At free conference call, there's no board. We don't have a board. We're driving all that communication. And there's just one man that decides what goes on. But that's how we've survived. Start small and get some perspective. At free conference call, I worked for 918 days all by myself because it was a one-man show. I did 918 days. I answered the telephone 24 hours a day. I kid you not, right? There wasn't that many customer service calls, but if you called our toll-free number at 3 a.m. in the morning, I woke up and I answered that call. And I did that for 2.5 years. I did that because I didn't have any money to hire anybody. Right? He laughed. But what I got is I got a perspective, right? Because I was the guy answering the phone. I was the guy running the site. I was the guy doing everything. I saw changes immediately, right? I went out and I took a small area that I planned to affect and I affected it. And from that, right, I could go then and say, hey, you know what? I did this thing and it worked. And I could go raise money. Or I could say, hey, I did this thing and it worked, and maybe I should just do a lot more of that and get out there, get my proof of concept. You've got to do it anyway. There's a guy in Belmont Shores in the area that I live, and he's the all-man, one-man band. And he calls himself the Timsterman because he's Tim. And what he's doing that's most impressive, he's playing all these different instruments, and that's really impressive to me. But what he's doing that's more impressive is he's putting that thing on the street, and he's putting his can in the street, and he's saying, hey, do you like what I'm doing? Because I think this is my gig. This is what I want to do. And I don't want to sit in my house and dream about it. I'm actually going to put it on 2nd Street, and I'm going to make you watch it, and maybe you'll put a coin in my thing. So get out there, do your startup. So does money get in the way of creativity? I believe money gets in the way of creativity, right? It's amazing how creative you are when you don't have money. Is the reverse true? Sure, it is. If you have a bunch of money, you say, hey, go hire some salesmen, get some life cycle marketing, go do this, go do that, because all the big companies do it. And you end up spending your time managing all of the stuff that emulates what the big companies do. I had a competitor years ago, and he had money. And I thought it was my demise. And he was buying this big server equipment. He was telling me everything he was doing. And he built like this airplane dashboard of conferencing. And me, I didn't have any money. My conferencing bridges ran in parallel with my website. They didn't connect. You got a number and a random number generated from the website. I turned on all access codes on the bridge because it was a free service. So I didn't have to worry about anybody breaking into account because I was more than happy if they'd take it. So I just made a random number generator. And that's what won the day. It was so easy to get an account from free conference call. It happened in a second. It was automatically on, even if the connectivity between the server and the bridge was down because it wasn't there at all. But that's how you do it with no money. And that took off much, much faster than his very complex system. Fundraise when you don't need money, that's the thing. When I was successful, I had people coming to me saying, hey, we've got this interest rate. Hey, we'll give you this on EBITDA. We'll do this, we'll do that. It's much easier to raise money when you don't need money than it is when you do need money. And when you do need money, if you spend all your time raising money, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And get into it. Get your head wrapped around doing what you want to do and do it. And they'll come looking for you when it's time. I think the money givers need the money as much as the money takers, right? They need it to flow. They need it to happen. They're going to find you. So that's all of the reasons why you shouldn't raise money, in my eyes, is to simply to stay on your toes and not look at it as any kind of as form of flattery as I did. I was hoping somebody would give me money to approve my business model. But instead, without it, we did a lot of things, and we still do it that way today. We're not just throwing money around the company because we have money. We're starting a new startup that's a wireless company, and the name of the company is Native Wireless. And we're starving the company of money, and we're coming up with creative ideas as how to distribute SIMS cards from the lack of money, even though we have money. And it's that kind of a thing, I think, that helps a company actually become sharp, becomes hungry, becomes lean, becomes believable, right? Because the actual people behind it believe in what they're doing and believe it has a chance. And it may even be far-fetched, but it's like they're behind it. It's easy when there's a bunch of money. So that's what I had to say today. I hope that it was inspirational to some and maybe a lot, but I love startups. I wish you all the best in your startups. And if I see any of you guys afterwards, I'd love to hear about what you're doing and how you're doing and what it takes. But at this point, I'd like to open it up to questions if there's anybody that has a question or would like to ask something. Right here.
I've been bootstrapping for 2 years now. We're doing very well. We're a team of 30. But now I'm at the level where I really need an investment. I'm launching new projects. I have expansion plans geographically and in the line of businesses. So, and the part of I'm messed up and I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure if I would continue bootstrapping, how would I be able to achieve all of those plans?
Yeah, so I think, my experience, it's very difficult because I don't fully understand your situation and what your startup is, but when your startup's ready, the money's easy. That's kind of how I would look at it. And I think that, Free Conference Call was a wild success, right? But I have had so many that weren't successes. Right? Like I love the idea that there's only, 10,000 wrong ways to do something because that gives me hope, right? Sometimes it's just not right? And one of the things I've learned in business, and I think is probably the number one lesson that I've learned, if I'm going to lose money, lose it fast. Like, do not spend your time trying to save something and get something to a point that maybe it's never going to get. Because your time's precious and you have things you believe in and that you really want to do, and you need to find those things and you need to do those things. And if it's not working out, sometimes keeping it afloat is just taking a time away from where you really need to be. I don't know that that's the case. I mean, you may need to just go look for money and show people what you have, but if it's like a big, huge thing that you've got to convince people, I don't know that your company's ready for it. Right? I mean, they know, they look at it, I say, ooh, that's interesting, pretty quick. But I also know that bootstrap ain't easy. Like, it's putting your hands on the plow and you don't look back, right? You go and you go and you go, and when it calls, you stay up till 3 a.m. and you just go, right? And, it took me 2.5 years before I monetized Free Conference Call. And so at 2 years, I was like, oh my God, right? What are we doing here? So, any others? Right here?
You're amazing. You're a trendsetter. In a world where it's fashionable to just raise money, like you did it alone, what kept you going? Why did you not give up?
So thanks for the warm words and excellent question. I feel like I gave up a few times, but giving up really takes a lot of work. Because you got to undo something, right? So, but I'm a tinkerer, right? And man, if I can tinker with something and add to it and take away and kind of push it around and somehow the plane gets in the air and that it's actually cash flowing or it's actually doing something, you'd be amazed at what I'd be willing to go through. I'll eat top ramen for 6 months in a row if that thing, allows me to keep adjusting it, right? And that's what happened with Free Conference Call. When I started Free Conference Call, I was hoping for 1,000 clients and 100,000 minutes a month. And I mean, we do over like 3,000 to 4,000 new customers a day. Just the thing to see it growing and to see that. We had 60 consecutive quarters of growth. And so that's inspiring, right? That moves you when you see that kind of thing happening, even though, the troubles that come with a startup.
Hi. Hey, thank you. It seems like we have similar backgrounds. Well, you've had more success and stuff, but the attitude anyway, right? The attitude. And I've been told for the last few years that you can't do this, you can't do this. And each one of them I created and moved forward. And so now I'm at the point where to take it to the next level, I guess, is to find that right partner, that right VC partner. And I've turned down already 3 already, but I've been asking. Like, I haven't pitched or anything. I don't have a full pitch deck. So the attitude for me is that, if it doesn't work or go further, I'm okay with that. I have other things I've created. But my question to you is this. How, I think it's important. I'm trying to find a way, or ask my questions, if you were able to find that partner and that VC partner, that person investing in your company, would that not be like a marriage? I mean, like, not just getting the money, because it's not about the damn money, right? It's about that marriage and that partnership, correct?
Yeah. I think, that's the thing, like the first slide, like, who am I? To know yourself is key, and then, the little turtles that are trying to make it across the beach there, it's like, what is your ocean? Like, what is it you want? Like, for a long time, I was convinced, that I wanted like a big exit and a big pile of money, because that's like, seems what it happens if you do something really good and it's successful. And I would say, right now, I'm doing the absolute opposite. If you wanted to try and buy Free Conference Call from me, it's going to be a really hard time. I have a lifestyle. I mean, it's more than just making a lot of money every month. It's like, hey, that's great. But it's like, I actually have a lifestyle where what I did was much bigger than a company that's presented to the general public. It's the way that I live, it's how I do, it's where I do my stuff, right? It's no longer about like a work-life balance. It's about presence. I'm in this thing. I mean, I'm in it. It's my environment, and I love it. I enjoy it. And so I don't know that I want a partner in that. I bought a house in Hawaii once, and I had a partner, and the worst thing about it was my partner. And he was a great guy. He's a great guy. It was a fair deal. It's just, once you have a partner, then you got to keep your stuff in a box in the closet with a lock on it, right? And that's different than having it all hanging in your closet. And so, to your point, I mean, taking on a partner is a big deal. It's a big deal. It changes everything. And once you've done it, it's irreversible. I mean, in marriage, there's divorce. In business, it's like irreversible, man. They're in. Like, you got to like figure out how to buy them out, or, tricky stuff that's above my pay grade. But that's the big thing. Find out who you are, what your ocean is, and then, like, do you really want somebody swimming in it?
Hi. So what you're teaching us is to be really wise with money and capital, but once you are forced to spend money, what would be your first spend? People, product, infrastructure, or sales?
So I'm big into infrastructure, but infrastructure really doesn't take that much money in the scheme of things at Free Conference Call. But I would go infrastructure first. We built the best conferencing bridges on the planet. We built everything in-house. That's where I go freak daddy right there with the technology stuff, right? The people, what's interesting is, there's a quote by, I think it's Francis Clarence or something like that. But what he says is you can buy a person's time, you can buy a person's presence, but you can't buy like their integrity, their motivation, their loyalty, you know, their trust, right? Those things you have to earn. And so going after people, it's like I've realized it's not all about the money. It's about actually people that I can influence and people that will respect me back, that there's a like for like effect, you know, relationship, and that I can make that, like, that trust happen, that I can earn it, that I know it's valuable when I get it. So I wouldn't like say necessarily I'd put money after people, but I do put money after my culture. I think that once you have great people, you've got to find out a way to like make them really super comfortable.
Hello. Hi, my name is Delango. I've got great regards to what you've done, Dave. My question is, I've started a bootstrapped company and we've been successful for the past 5 years. And now I'm at the point where I'm wondering whether I should raise capital or not, because I'm concerned about what I'm going to lose. I know I'm going to gain a lot of other things, which is pretty obvious. But my biggest question is, what am I going to lose? Like, say, if I were to raise capital, what am I going to lose? Like, right now I have a lot of flexibility in my time schedules, my family, and everything that I do. But I'm just really concerned about what I'm going to lose, if you were to tell me.
Okay, yeah, so you know, in 2015, I went and looked at a, you know, potential round or something, just to value the company, one, and to see what, you know, what it was like, what would happen. And we did a roadshow. We did like 40 different meetings and different things. And I noticed that as we went through, there was these things called minority rights, you know, the rights of the minority. And what I found out is minority rights are like really majority rights. They're like the rights the majority should have, except you're giving them to the minority. And it would depend on whether you were selling a part of your company, like less than a majority or more. Personally, me, I think, you know, I'm not really interested in anything, but if I would, it would be a complete takeout, because I like my jam and I don't want to work for anybody anymore. Like, I just don't. I don't have to. And, you know, if I had to start all over again, I'd be shooting for that more than anything, more than, you know, the money itself. But when you sell a small part of your company, they put majority rights on there, and they control a lot of things, right? They control how it gets sold, you know, how you take on debt, anything new that you might do. And so if everything's swimmingly well, it's not that big of a deal, but it's the rough patch. And rough patch, you know, that's when it gets really tough. And they're not real excited about something in a rough patch, so you gotta kind of calculate that in there too. But I just think that if there's any way that you can get up above, you get your boat on the water and get planing without a partner, without venture capital or things like that, that you should do it. And I think if you're in the early stages of a startup, it's the only thing to do. I think you're more valuable to people that want to invest money when you've really gone through, you know, a bootstrap startup. And I think there's always stages. I looked at it the whole time, you know, should I now, should I now, should I now? And, you know, finally I came to this thing. It's like, no, man, like maybe you shouldn't ever, you know. I mean, there's a marketplace for it, right? But it's definitely better without it. All right. Thank you, guys.